Canada considers adding Houthis to the terrorist list. Well, Trudeau says it will abide by ICJ ruling. Evidence for paid protesters. This is the Great White North Report. I'm in love with the system. Never going home. I'm in love. So in the wake of the Houthi rebels of Yemen launching missile attacks in the Red Sea, and the US and Britain striking back, Canada is actually helping the US and the UK in their intelligence gathering. But it's kind of weird that we haven't actually put the Houthis on any terrorist list. The United States has already taken that action, but Canada is still reviewing the Yemen-based group. The Houthis, of course, are sponsored by the Iranians, who are always trying to seek discord in the region so that they become the power in the region. And Canada is currently assessing whether the Shia Islamic Houthi movement should be added to the terrorist list. I would have thought we'd already done this by now. Yemen is just a dumpster fire of a country, and according to Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc, the country's security intelligence agencies are considering whether the Houthis, which operate primarily in Yemen, meet the explicit criteria for inclusion on the terrorist list. Well, they're firing rockets out of nowhere against shipping, regardless of who it is by. I'm surprised the Egyptians aren't after the Yemenis, because it affects Egypt's national interest. If you close down the Suez Canal, Egypt loses a lot of money. We're also facing pressure to add another group, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, which shot down the Ukrainian international airline flight 752 back in January 2020. Something else we should have did years ago. And it shouldn't be that hard, because under the criminal code, Trudeau and his cabinet can add an entity to the terrorist list if the public safety minister finds there are reasonable grounds to believe the entity is knowingly carried out and attempted to carry out, participated in, or facilitated in terrorist activity. Well, that's freaking Iran right there. So if they designate the Houthis as terrorists, would have serious criminal and financial consequences. Well, duh. We can freeze their assets of a designated terrorist group, and police can charge anyone who financially or materially supports such a group. Well, there's probably 8 groups here that support the Houthis. There was this girl I knew in university who I was friends with at the time. She did a complete 360 and started giving money to relief groups in Bosnia so they could buy guns. She went hardcore. So that's something we should do. We're already helping the US and the UK with intelligence gathering. Why aren't we putting the Houthis on a terrorist list and go after them? It's amazing how the Muslim world is still causing more problems than any other single group in the world. Which brings me to the next thing. So, after days of confusion, Trudeau government says it will abide by the ICJ on genocide case against Israel. Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs issued a statement that left many observers baffled. Right, they're waffling. They don't really want to call what's going on in Gaza a genocide, because they believe Israel has the right to defend itself. But at the same time, they don't want to piss off the Muslim vote. They already have. Trudeau needs that Muslim vote in Canada to win another minority government. Because there are, after all, 1.5 million Muslims living in Canada. Most of them live in the greater GTA, Toronto GTA area, and the Montreal area. So that's quite a few seats that the Liberals currently hold that they would lose probably to the NDP, because there's no way the Muslim population is going to vote Conservative. Now, Canada will abide by all rulings at the International Court of Justice. Trudeau is great on following the rule of law. He did that during the Kovrig-Spav War, Meng the Merciless odyssey that we went through, in which he refused to give up Meng the Merciless in exchange for Kovrig-Spav War, which I applaud him for that. But unfortunately, we didn't get tough enough on China as a result. But of course, Trudeau waffled and wouldn't be on one side of the fence or the other. He doesn't want to commit. So it's a political game, keep everyone guessing. But when pressed, there are more Muslims in this country than Jewish people, so he goes where the votes are. Political pandering. So Trudeau and Jolly's statements were widely misinterpreted or misreported in mainstream media and on social media as dismissing the South African case and taking the side of Israel. First of all, I too dismiss the South African case and support Israel. Israel is in a fight against an enemy that is entrenched behind civilians. They're hiding in tunnels underneath the civilian population. Israel has done everything possible to get civilians out of certain areas where they're targeting. This is something that's not uncommon in war. For militants to be hiding within a civilian population, pop out and start shooting. This happened in World War II. This happened in the Korean War. Happened in Afghanistan. You never know where there's going to be an enemy. So we have all these different groups calling for... So the confusion affected one of the government's own ministers and some of its MPs, as well as the Consulate General of Israel in Toronto. Both pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian organizations were united in describing the rollout as badly mismanaged. And one guy, Michael Burkhardt of the Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East, pipe dream. Get rid of Islam, that would get it. That would do it. Which is called on Canada to declare its support for South Africa's case against Israel. Really? Burkhardt reclaimed it doesn't sound neutral. It sounded like Canada taking a clear position. Again, that wasn't just us. That was the pro-Israeli groups. I would say in Canada only a minority of people support Palestine. Most people actually support Israel, though they don't voice that. Should we stay out of it? Probably. So this popped up 6-7 days ago when the Toronto Sun broke the story. The National Post has also picked it up. And it says the evidence for paid protesters in the Canadian anti-Israeli camp. At least 2 of Canada's major anti-Israeli organizers benefit from non-profit status, which means the government is giving money to a non-profit organization who in turn is giving money to people to go protest. You're paying for protesters. Now I don't know why CBC didn't pick up on this story. Mainly because it doesn't go against... It goes against CBC's narrative and their own bias. I find CBC to be very pro-Palestinian or pro-Arab. So after weeks of hosting sustained anti-Israeli demonstrations in its downtown, the BC capital of Victoria has recently played host to controversial revelations that paid protesters could be padding the ranks of the Canadian anti-Israeli movement. Because there's not that many out in the West Coast. Most of the Muslim population lives in the Greater Toronto area and in the Greater Montreal area. And in that... So when I talk Greater Toronto area, I'm talking about the whole Golden Horseshoe right down to Niagara Falls, up into past Oshawa. So on the West Coast, they probably need help getting people out. So the Plenty Collective, a self-described mutual aid group that has previously received civic grant funding, was found to be operating a solidarity fund to distribute cash to anyone organizing actions related to Palestine and the Palestinian people. Details of the fund are still on the official Plenty Collective website as of press time. So this was 6 days ago. Yep. So the details were circulated earlier this week by a councillor for the Victoria area municipality of Colwood. Paid protesters promoting anti-Semitism and a call for a violent intifada, wrote Ward in a social media post. So this guy's against it. So I decided to do some looking, and I went to the actual website of Plenty Collections, and it's still there. So they're helping to cover the cost incurred when organizing and participating in local actions. So you got to make an application and select the amount you would like to receive, 25, 50, or 100. We trust you honor our goals to protest Palestine and the BIPOC. Applicants, we are counting on you to answer honestly. I'm Palestinian, I am black and indigenous person of color, I am white. And it gives you a whole questionnaire. I confirm these funds will be used in support actions in solidarity with Palestine and the Palestinian people. That is pretty messed up. Now the Plenty Collective is... Let's go with the About Us page. Plenty is currently made up of Ren, she, they, and Jewel, she, her. We are 2 white queer settlers currently living on the lands of the Lekwungen peoples. Each of us relates to and embodies queerness in a unique way. Both of us believe in the centrality of queerness in community building and future visioning. Passionate about building loving communities, creating moments of abundance while centering accessibility and food security. Meaning you don't work. This is your job. Oh my God. They call themselves settlers, eh? Talk about the biggest woke people I've ever heard about in my life. I hate to break this to you ladies, but queerness doesn't go well in the Gaza Strip. Queers are executed in Gaza. Talk about what they know about the world around them. So, of course, this counselor said the pro-Palestinian crowd in Victoria is paying for underemployed rabble to join their mob. And it's true. They're paying people to go protest. I wonder if that's true in Toronto. I don't think so, but... because there's enough Muslims there to get all riled up. But it wouldn't surprise me, because they're also very organized in some cases. They have professional signs and everything. So the Plenty Collective got $28,000 distributed as part of the 2023 Community Grants Program overseen by Victoria Foundation. And the Victoria Foundation is reviewing the donation. While the level of activism in Victoria has been to the scale or severity of what has been occurring in central Canada since October 7th, the city has witnessed regular demonstrations centered around the BC legislature. Their language has been threatening, with chants for intifada and slogans that call for the end of Israel. According to Victoria Rabbi Lynn Greenough and the Victorian Times Colonist. Victoria also happens to be the home of Susan Kim, a city councillor notable as one of 2 elected Canadian politicians to sign a November petition dismissing widespread evidence that the Hamas terrorists committed mass rape on October 7th. The other politician senior was Sarah Jama, an Ontario MPP, who was kicked out of the Ontario NDP after justifying the massacres as an act of decolonization. Again, yeah, why don't these 2 ladies go talk to some of the victims of October 7th? Hamas commits mass atrocities and gets away with it. And of course, all these feminists, where's the outrage now? So this is the kind of bullshit we got to deal with in Canada, where common sense in the face of reality doesn't click in with these people. And I'll tell you, if we continue with our immigration policies as they currently are, these kind of things will get much worse and much more violent. Hey, Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think of the whole of the Houthis, of what's going on in Canada with all the protests, and what should we be doing? Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.